Hey there, happy Wednesday to you all. I'm Catherine at Happy with Baby, and I'm really excited. We're having a few little technical glitches, I think, it's here on my end, trying to connect with Jennifer Moyer, who's a mental health advocate, a speaker, and she's also the author of A Mother's Climb Out of Darkness. So I'm really excited to be able to connect with her, and she can share about her powerful book and the work that she does and her experience. And I know she has a lot of wisdom for moms and even their partners and their family members and how support-wise and stuff. So yeah, there you are. Okay, cool. I'm going to invite you to join me here. All right. Hopefully this works. It says it's adding. All right. This is my first time actually interviewing somebody, so I'm really excited about this. And it's taking a minute. Oh, there you are. We did it.
No, I would turn this one light. I don't know how bright it is, so I'm just turning this down a little bit.
Okay.
I'm not a photographer. That's helpful.
I know.
Because my dog was barking a little bit ago, so it's good that we weren't.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Well, hopefully everybody hung out and waited for that.
I know. Well, it'll be available for them to listen after, too, so that'll be good. Well, thank you for being here. I'm so excited to be able to talk with you. Finally in person. I know we tried to connect for over a year now, so I'm excited that we're finally able to do this.
Gosh, I guess it has been long.
Yeah.
Last year was a rough year, and perimenopause is not fun either.
No. I'm so glad that you could be here. Can you share a little bit about, there's a little background noise there. Can you share a little bit about your experience? I don't know why I have this echo. Okay. Of your experience and how you kind of got into doing the work that you do and why you decided to write your book and that.
Well, I worked in healthcare marketing, and when my son was born, November 1995, it was a long, difficult labor, got through it, educated myself on everything that could happen, I thought.
Yeah.
And had great support. I didn't know what a postpartum doula was then, but my mother, even though he came early, I had a sister in the story that was able to drive down an hour to help out in the beginning after my husband. So my mom was there for 6 weeks. So she was like a postpartum doula because I considered her an expert, having had babies, 8 babies herself.
Yeah, that's an expert.
And I had a lot of support, meals from friends and everything, but I had planned to go back to my career as a director of a health program and loved my career, but when I held that baby, I couldn't put him in daycare. And my husband and I said whoever was making more money, the other would stay home, and he was still making a little more money. So I didn't think about all the isolation because my support system and everything was my career.
Yeah.
I had a great team, and I had friends, but they were further away, and so the isolation I hadn't really prepared myself for.
Yeah.
And the way the fear came on suddenly out of nowhere, because he started sleeping through the night.
Okay.
Which was great.
Yeah.
Should have been my breast, who had really bad severe breast engorgement postpartum. In fact, the lactation consultant that we had to hire ourselves, because they just, after one full night, she said it was the worst case she'd ever seen.
Oh, wow.
So we had to rent, at our cost, an electric pump, and, so we had lots of breast milk, which we didn't realize would come in handy later, unfortunately, for the reason it did. But about 6 weeks, I started getting more irritable, and I wasn't sleeping through the night. I would wake up and express milk, and to relieve it, and it just started a pattern of not sleeping well. And then my mom had to go home. Her home state, and I love my mom. I wanted to do it on my own. I have mixed feelings about that. So my husband would go back to his nighttime working job. So I was never afraid to be home alone at night before, but when you have this human life you're responsible for, it changes things.
Yeah.
So I had this sudden fear that came out of nowhere. It wasn't a real concrete fear, no evidence, but it caused me to not sleep. And after 3 nights without sleep, it became a medical emergency. My husband knew something was not right, but we didn't know.
Right.
We didn't know. I had baby blues. My sister actually had prepared me for that. I had read a little bit about postpartum depression, but it's been a few years ago. My son's 22 now, but nothing that even existed mentioning postpartum psychosis could even be ever.
Oh, wow.
So, thankfully, horrible experience. That's how I was introduced to mental health. I didn't even know it existed. When I had to be forcibly hospitalized. And, my nightmare of someone trying to kill me and take my baby, really, the way the first responders, it just happening. And then, of course, I was so motivated to get back to my son. I was able to continue pumping. The doctor that said I had postpartum depression, I was thinking I didn't completely trust her, so I actually reconstituted. I was not taking the medication.
Okay.
But my goal was to get home to that baby and my family. So I was discharged after about 4 nights, I think it was, and then, not completely, breastfeeding and everything, the strain of that. So about 2 weeks later, I had another, now what I know is a break from reality, because I never did really sleep well. And at that point, my family all intervened, and we got a second opinion from a wonderful clinician who actually gave me the title, that I had an illness called postpartum psychosis. And I was relieved because, I didn't know what it was. I had never done illicit drugs. The paramedics and everybody thought I was on drugs. Thankfully, my family, the support I had, realized that was not the case, even though they were taking me forcibly to a hospital, and they still wanted my husband to take the baby to the ER to do a drug test.
Oh, wow, yeah.
It was a little crazy, but this, of course, I'll learn much later. So we got that diagnosis, and then I was like, okay, well, this makes sense. I have an illness. I can take medication, and, so I stabilized from that, from the psychosis, pretty quickly after that. And the interesting thing is, I'm doing this work. Way back then, the doctor said me having bacterial meningitis at 9 years old could have played a role in me.
Oh, really?
For me. Yeah. Not that, there was really research or anything here, especially in this country.
Yeah.
So then it turned into, which it often does, in my case, the isolation. I had the support, but nobody really understood, what it was like, because, and the internet was not like it is now, and the support. So it led into depression.
Yeah.
Not only that, but I had the trauma of everything that happened to me on top of it. So it was difficult. Again, I had great support. I have a big family, we're spread out. So, I went home for a little while in Pennsylvania with some family, but then I, missed my husband, so
Yeah.
you do the best you can.
Right.
You don't know or understand what it was all about. But, so anyway, the depression, was a lot of hit or miss, with medications and everything. And I didn't realize, some of it I just didn't realize as much until I gathered all my medical records to write the book. And, it's a miracle I'm here.
Yeah.
I had a panic attack, which I now know what it was, in April 97. My son was a little over a year, and it was like an out-of-body experience, really. I don't completely understand it, but I took medication. I wanted to sleep, get out of this. There was fear and everything.
Yeah.
And, I survived that.
Yeah.
And my husband has been amazing and continues to be.
Yeah.
And he had a sense something wasn't right, and he called me. I mean, I managed, I was back to work then, and I managed home, and, it was just so bizarre. And the last thing I remember is he called me and said, is everything okay? And I told him what I did, and that's the last memory I have.
Yeah.
So, I obviously talk more about it in the book, but it's a miracle. And that, it wasn't until my son was 4 when I reached out and really learned more about Postpartum International. And at that founder, Jane Honigman, was still answering the phone.
Yeah.
And so I talked to her, and it was just wonderful. Yeah. And she's like, if I could just help one person, it would be all worth it.
Yeah.
So in the early 2000s, I was a coordinator in my area.
Okay.
Was really, she's amazing.
Yes.
Still.
Yeah.
I was told to be able to do a training with her Postpartum Action Institute, one of the first classes in January of 16. And anyway,
that's so cool.
I'm a Jane group.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, so then I started learning about, all this, and I was like, oh my God. So, you kind of get this, I call it righteous anger, but it's like, okay, you tackle this as like a marketing problem, that was what my degree was in. I'm like, okay. I didn't realize how complicated it was.
Right.
But in 2005, because, my body didn't handle stress like it did ever again, really. Sensitive, and I knew, so in 2003, I was actually at a conference in New York, and no proof, but I'm pretty sure I had a very early miscarriage. But through that process, I actually got to see an expert.
Oh, okay.
In prenatal health, and that was when they said, okay, this could be what they call bipolar disorder, postpartum onset. So, so again, I was like, okay, before that, I was always trying to get back to my healthy self before, and so, that's how I started getting treated for that.
Okay.
And, to this day, that's the path I'm under, although, I had a lot of trauma last year. Perimenopause, that's another journey.
Right,
I don't know,
right.
8 to 10 years, they say. But my gynecologist, confirmed that I'm in that stage. So I just, women out there, you wear a panty liner every day. Never quite know if it's going to be a period or not.
Yeah.
But the long one is between it or not.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
So that's when, stuff like medication that they once gave me to help with sleep when I was working on the manuscript in March 2014, I was, a little sleep deprived, and I took it and caused a paradoxical effect. But of course, every time I had a relapse, it's always, medication is adjusted. And
Yeah.
so, there's been a lot of trauma and everything in the last 2 years, or 17, and then everything. I finally have a great team of providers. I mean, I did 2 over that time, but that is actually looking more for the root cause.
Okay.
Because this provider says, with psychiatric illnesses, there are a lot of symptom treating.
Yeah.
And I actually, I've been wanting to get some testing done again. I had some done in 2006. And so at this point, I'm on a medication that is really, I physically felt a difference when they started me on it in April of 2017 at a facility I was in, voluntary facility, first time.
Yeah.
And my brain, I was getting a lot of head pressure, and my body gets due to seizures when I get stressed.
Okay.
So at least physically, when I break down, that's what has happened. So
Anyway,
save that for book 2.
Right. Yeah. There's a whole nother book in there.
But yeah, I know I'm throwing a lot of information. There's a lot of information. So
yeah.
But
well,
if you have specific questions, let me know.
I do have. I have a question. You brought up the support of your husband and stuff. What is there something that you think that that you would want moms or their partners to know that would be helpful? Like you said, your husband knew something wasn't right. And I've heard that from dads that I've seen in my office. And they're like, I knew something wasn't right. And not knowing how to bring it up or what to say. What would do you have recommendations for that?
Well, to me, I mean, the best thing is to be talking openly about it. So in doing a coordinator, I did some consulting work with the local hospital, and I went in and talked to the childbirth classes. That's why I'm a member of CAPA, Childbirth and Postpartum Professional Association. I was actually certified as a postpartum doula for a short time.
Okay.
In the early 2000s, and then my mom passed away suddenly, and things changed, and that's the book. But we have to talk openly about these things. That's why when I wrote the book, I had a little bit of publicity from the tragedy that happened in Texas with Andrew Yates. The freelance writer, I learned some things, and that never should happen. And if there was such a thing as psychiatric medical malpractice, in my opinion, and it's just hard because with psychiatric, no wrong leg operated on, there's nothing like that. So talking openly, and yes, the statistics are always 1 to 2 out of 1,000 births.
Yeah.
When I was doing research, 1 to 4. Some of us that are, survivors or whatever you want to call it, overcomers, we think as the stress and the pressure on women has gotten greater, and because sleep deprivation is huge.
Right.
Because back then I had a friend who had a psychology background, and she's like, 3 days without sleep is like taking LSD. So it's more and more pressure on women, I think, in this country, especially there's hardly any maternity leave. Women can't afford working more than one job. And, they may be a single mom. And which is why I'm so excited that you reached out to me, because if I had to put anything, therapy is what saved my family the most.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the right kind of therapy. Yes, the medications may have addressed the physical problems, but having a therapist that understood, because, ironically, I talk about in the book, I was, having these ups and downs and everything, and when I had a panic attack up at my dad's one year when I was just I'd had electroconvulsive therapy, and I would have done whatever anyone wanted me to do.
Right.
But through that process, I got to a hospital near him that I had a female doctor for the first time, and she was a mother of twins, and the connection was there. She actually listened to me. I mean, I'm not saying the others didn't get it, and you have to be a female, but it's some unique things you just don't know,
right,
unless you look through it.
Right.
And so she started listening to me, because before, I was an educated woman and had no idea what mental health really was, and felt like I was getting attitude sometimes, like, oh my gosh, you do this to yourself, or, and so one of the things, education is empowering.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. Let's educate people. It doesn't matter, that's why it's so important to have an advocate or somebody. And so a spouse, a partner, in my case, my husband, stuck through it, Unfortunately, families have challenges. When they don't understand it, they blame.
Right.
They try to, we've come through a lot of that, but it's hard,
Yeah.
And, now lots of times people get scared and they think, oh my gosh, but, a woman should not be punished because she's sick and lose her baby. And it's right now, that's pretty much what happens. You have to go to the hospital. And so when I more of this, and the book came out in 2014, even though I got rejected since 2006.
But finally it got out there. That was good.
Literary agents, it's a tough topic.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But, as I said, the title and everything came pretty inspirationally after my mom died, and I sat down to write it. But, I learned, because I was able to go to Wales. I had someone rear-end me, and neck injury, but I got a small settlement, so I was able to go to Wales for the Marseille Society conference. And they're like I don't know the dates, but they were one of the first French that I think it was that started addressing prenatal mental health.
Yeah.
And my eyes were open. It was amazing to see what was happening in other countries, especially Netherlands. And I got to meet the team from Action Postpartum Psychosis Network in the UK. And so that's why I was like, I know we're a young country, I get that, but it's there's so much that we still need to catch up on. And my feeling is, why not learn from other countries and bring that to us?
Yeah.
The healthcare system in this country needs some remodeling.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think there's, a lot of like misinformation out there, and misunderstanding about it. And then there's like movies and stuff come out that portray things like probably not in the best of ways. So is there some, like, what do you feel moms should know, their partners should know about, like, not only maternal mental health, but maybe even more specifically about postpartum psychosis?
Well, that it is treatable. It's an illness, but it is treatable.
Yeah.
It's not anything that you cause to yourself.
Right.
It's, and, don't feel guilty, don't blame, and, stick it out. I mean, an amazing woman, Eileen Barsky, I call her the pioneer in my state.
Yeah.
She was one of the members of Postpartum International. I mean, sadly, she passed away from a brain tumor, but years ago now. But when we connected, when I was a coordinator and she was too, there was just like some basic things that, I used to teach in the classes, like, don't add another major life change if you can help it.
Yes.
After baby, because it's a major life change, and so even don't divorce your spouse or if you're married, even though you need to. I mean, so And, you know, she talked about how weaning makes you at risk.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you have a history, obviously, of mental illness or anything, you definitely need to have that addressed and talk openly.
Right.
But unfortunately, there's a lot of people that have been told you shouldn't have kids. And I don't agree with that. I think you equip them, you give them the options, you give them support and the team to be able to do it.
Yeah.
You know, and so we've come a long way. I mean, Postpartum for International has grown, and Postpartum Progress, you know, although they're not formally involved anymore, Catherine's done. There's just so much is done, and as my opinion always is, let's collaborate, work together.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Because there's so much good resources. I know.
Competitive is hard for me sometimes.
Because we're stronger together, right? We're stronger and we can help each other out, right? And I mean, it's kind of like when we have a baby, like we can't do this in isolation. Like I know in the area that I'm in, there's a lot, like people kind of move here and they don't have a big support system oftentimes. And so it's like, how do you grow that? You know, how do you get that community support? Where do you find the people that can help you out after you have a baby? Because it's impossible to do by yourself, let alone with just you and your partner too. You know,
I have a suggestion. Because, like I said, postpartum doula they're out there, and I think instead of a baby shower for yes, you need some practical things, but I'll chip in and give the mom a postpartum doula.
Yes. Oh, that's such a wonderful idea. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, because people do what do you want? It's like, okay, here's my my little fund for the postpartum doula support after. I think it's.
I know for myself, you're so focused on that, not knowing how that delivery, that process, and you think you're just gonna slide right into motherhood, because that's what a lot of the movies and things portray. But it takes a year. 9 months, 10 months, right? So you should get. And I know Dark Side of the Full Moon is an amazing film that grassroots that two moms took on and just did themselves. And they talk in there how at that time, I don't know the research, but it was 2014 it came out, that we are below Pakistan. We're one of the lowest for providing sleep. And, unfortunately, finances and stuff often cause people to have to work because things are expensive. But we need to support. And, some of the early books that I read, in cultures, travels where the moms are othered for 30 days and start the thing. Some of them don't even have that instance of depression or the spectrum of disorders that we know about. My dog. Wow, I gotta walk.
Okay. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time either, but so.
No, I could talk all day, but
we'll have to do a part two. What would be one piece of advice that you would give to new moms or other moms?
Don't, be prepared. Things are not going to go as expected. I had a birth plan. I think you should also have a postpartum plan. And I know there's, women that are helping moms do that. And it goes so fast.
Yeah.
I mean, I know at times it doesn't feel like it is. And, my son's going to be graduating college on Saturday.
Oh, wow.
And he's a homeschool. And, despite all of our challenges, he's just amazing. And, I miss him, even though, he doesn't want mom in his life too much right now.
Yeah.
But, I know he loves me. Enjoy the moment. And, we had to give up some things, for, little did I know I was going to need all that money. We saved some medical bills, unfortunately. But, I have a wonderful person in my life who keeps me beautiful when I have my hair colored down. And she used to say, it's not a dress rehearsal. We don't have a dress rehearsal in life.
Yeah.
So, family, I think, is so important.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time and speaking with us. And you guys have to check out her book. It's powerful. It's A Mother's Climb Out of Darkness.
He stopped whining. He's
okay.
Pretty good about waiting.
Okay.
Because I also have a publisher that have a new cover. There might be some people that have my original cover, which was awesome because they did it, a picture that I was able to take a month before my sister died from appendix cancer.
Oh.
She's Lynette in the story.
Oh.
And she never got the copy, but I think she was.
Yeah, that's neat.
But my publisher just said today, and it's out there. I'll have to put it on my social media page. The first 20 people that contact me through my website will get a free book if they promise to do a review.
Oh, awesome.
So it's JenniferMoyer.com or JenniferHMoyer.com is the website.
Okay, well, I'll put a link in there at the bottom.
Yeah. So they merged with them. They were a small publisher, but they're doing a little more marketing support now, and they're a great publisher. So
that's so awesome. That's neat. Thank you so much again for your time and your wisdom. And I look forward to staying in touch. We'll have to do another call or something soon. Okay. Thank you, Jennifer.
Yeah, this live is pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, you're my first interview one, so thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Have a good night.
You too. Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.